The NFL's success seems counterintuitive. They play the fewest games of any major sport, they have the shortest season, and they have their biggest stars stuck in small markets like Buffalo and Kansas City. The game itself only has action once every 40 seconds, players get injured constantly, and there are more commercials than actual action. By every logical measure, this should be a recipe for disaster. Yet somehow, the NFL's dominance only keeps growing. How did they pull this off? I wanted to discover the secret sauce that's made the NFL the most popular league in America, and after digging deep, I think I figured it out. The NFL's stranglehold on America can be distilled down to one word: storytelling. Humans are born designed to enjoy stories. The form, the structure of stories help us understand things in a deep way. That's why the best TV shows, songs, movies, books, and even YouTube videos that you love, they tell great stories that keep us interested and invested. And well, sports are uniquely great vehicles for telling stories, which is why they're such a big deal in society today. Leagues like the NFL provide intriguing storylines for us to follow. People want to see which way the story will turn in real time, and the individual stories, or the games, cascade on each other to create a larger, season-long or even career-long narrative. That keeps the general public tuning in. Yes, the mechanics and visual appeal of the game have to be there for the sport to gain any traction, but once that's there, what keeps us coming back is the storylines. But any old story won't interest the majority of America. A good story needs 3 key elements that are all vital to its success, and the NFL is a step above its competition in all 3. The first element of a story that the NFL nails is the plot. The plot structure of the NFL is absolutely perfect. Every week, a new set of games happens, almost all on the same day, and they give us new storylines to talk about for the week ahead. This structure provides a fine-tuned storytelling engine for modern sports coverage. This season, try to take notice of the weekly NFL content cycle. TV shows, written pieces, and even other avenues like podcasts and short-form content, they all follow pretty much the same format. Once Sunday is done, Monday is used to look back at the games that just happened. Tuesday is Power Rankings Day, and another opportunity to sort out what happened and what it means going forward. Wednesday is kind of a pivot day, where the old week has gone out of view and there's some discussion on the week ahead, or maybe more of the season as a whole. Thursday brings Thursday night football previews plus the start of a true dive into the games coming up the following weekend, and Friday is preview and prediction day. The way the schedule is set up makes it part of the weekly routine for fans across the country, which leads to more obsession, more eyeballs, and more coverage. In the 3 other major sports in America, there's no rhythm like this day-to-day or week-to-week. Games are happening every day and teams aren't on the same cadence. The Lakers could play on Monday, Thursday, and Saturday, while the Grizzlies play on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday. There aren't many checkpoints or chapters throughout the story in the NBA, NHL, or MLB that provide solid opportunities to create narratives. Also, the formula for each team's schedule almost guarantees we get playoff rematches every season. The schedule formula, which has been largely in place since 2002, is extremely simple. 14 of the 17 games for a team are already set in stone. You could project out as many years as you want, and as long as the formula and the divisions stay the same, we know exactly who will play what teams in what year. Obviously, there are the 6 divisional games every year, home and away against your 3 divisional opponents. These breed interdivisional rivalries. 8 more games are scheduled by a rotation of divisions. Each division will play another division in its conference once every 3 years, and a division in the opposite conference once every 4 years. The key to the schedule, though, is that 3 of a team's games are decided by its finish the previous year. This is how the NFL churns out great games every year. Here, let's make this a little more concrete. Take the Eagles' schedule this year. They've got their 6 division games, obviously. That'll give us an NFC Championship rematch with the Commanders. But moving along, this year, the NFC division that the Eagles are matched up with is the NFC North. That means, fortunately, we'll get awesome Eagles-Lions and Eagles-Packers matchups. The NFC East is also matched with the AFC West this year as its AFC divisional opponent, which means you'll get an early season Super Bowl rematch with the Chiefs. And other than that, since the Eagles finished first in the NFC East, they'll also play the division winners from the NFC West and South, the Bucks and Rams, another playoff rematch. Finally, they'll play another division winner from the AFC as their 17th game. And would you look at that, they got lined up with the AFC East this year, which means the Bills and Eagles will face off for another must-watch game. Just take a look at that. The Eagles are playing 5 of the other 7 division winners in the NFL this year. That's true for all division winners too, and that's not an accident. A simple schedule formula guarantees star-studded matchups year to year that continue storylines from the previous year's playoffs and can carry the primetime NFL schedule. This formula gives us the episodes in the NFL season that keep the plot moving forward. The plot extends beyond the season too. The NFL is still in the news cycle throughout much of the spring, as the draft and free agency are paced perfectly to feed little bits of news to us to keep the story going. The draft itself gets similar or better ratings compared to the NBA Finals, Stanley Cup Final, and World Series. The draft gets help from the popularity of college football, which provides us with characters we're already familiar with as they enter the NFL. And that's the next key item to a compelling story: compelling characters. A good story must have compelling characters. In sports, these are the players playing the games, and maybe even the coaches, general managers, owners, and other people surrounding the team. Even if you don't know these characters on a personal level, the roles they play in the games are what make them compelling. Naturally, some of these characters are people that you root for, and others are the villain for your protagonist. You're watching this video, so you probably like the NFL. I'd bet you probably have an opinion one way or the other about Patrick Mahomes. Either he's the best thing to ever grace the football field, or he's a flopping, whining, overrated jerk. Either way, he evokes emotion and gets people to tune in. Characters drive ratings. Just look at the effect that Caitlin Clark has had on the WNBA's ratings in her first 2 seasons. She raises the ratings of the games she's in by more than 100%. Tiger Woods took the popularity of golf to new heights as he was dominating in the early 2000s. People love compelling characters like this, and the NFL is currently full of characters that drive stories. That's not really an accident either. The way the league is set up drives character development. Consider this: the quarterback is usually the most important player on any one team. That's a feature for the league in character development. The most popular player on each team, generally, also has the most power over how the team performs year over year. That means that usually, the most popular players elevate their teams to the top of the league, and so they're always on the biggest stages with the biggest stakes. And usually, better quarterbacks bring more exciting action, which leads to more interesting games. As the main characters of the NFL, the top-tier quarterbacks drive much of the discussion and much of the ratings year to year. In contrast, in baseball, Shohei Ohtani and Mike Trout, 2 of the top players of their generation, were on the same team for 6 years, and they were largely relegated to obscurity because they never made the playoffs together. That's because they each only took about 1/9 of their team's at-bats. Starting pitchers can be more of an attraction, but they only start 20% of their team's games. There's just not as much opportunity to affect the fortunes of their team, which doesn't breed good star development. But the NFL has a stranglehold on our attention precisely because these quarterbacks, these main characters of the league's story, have a great deal of control over their success one way or the other. This makes it easier for referendums to be put out on their talent after every game, which drives conversation. Now, a story with compelling characters and a good plot structure is a good start, but it's nothing without some real stakes. In the NFL, the conflict comes from the enormous stakes that each game has. With a short 17-game season, every game takes on outsized importance. We see this stat presented every year during the second week of games. If you start 0-2, you only have about an 11% chance of making the playoffs. So if your team lost its first game, the stakes are already super high for the second game of the season. You have to tune in. But you're probably not even tuning in to an April game between the division-leading Padres and Phillies, even though it's a good matchup. The same idea plays out across the world in large soccer leagues. Since there are no playoffs and the champion is crowned based on regular season standings, every game is hugely important for those competing for the title. The teams not contending for the title still have things to play for too, with a potential demotion out of the league looming depending on their finish in the final table. But in our other domestic leagues, the regular season has almost become not worth watching, since the stakes are so low. The NBA, the NHL, MLB, all of their regular seasons feel more like slow marches toward inevitability rather than an exciting possibility for massive changes every game. In the NFL, conflict also presents itself inside each game much better than any other league. The large majority, or about 2/3, of games are kept within one score in the fourth quarter. That builds drama and keeps people engaged throughout the game. And the way the game works scoring-wise, Even two-possession games feel close enough at the end to present some intrigue. So the game itself is engineered to almost always produce a compelling finish. You know exactly what I'm talking about. It's the end of the early game window on Sunday, and 5 of the 6 games are coming down to the wire, and you're checking in on it with Scott Hansen on Red Zone. Nothing compares to that kind of drama, excitement, and intrigue. Through the way the schedule is set up weekly, the way the game auto-generates compelling characters, and how the game itself naturally leads to intriguing individual game stories, the NFL has mastered the art of storytelling in sports. But apart from nailing the key elements of a story, there's another part of telling a story in the modern world that feeds into the NFL's popularity. The NFL is the greatest TV show in America. In 2023, 93 of the top 100 broadcasts were NFL games. In our extremely fragmented media landscape, the NFL is the only thing we actually all watch together. And clearly, people aren't this obsessed over a sport that isn't actually a good television product. The game itself is perfect for watching on TV. Detractors of football in general will quickly point to how much standing around there is between plays, usually when comparing it to soccer's game flow. But that's a feature in itself for the TV product. There's 4 to 6 seconds of high-stakes action, with the potential for a game-changing play every time the ball is snapped. Then there's 30 seconds to discuss what happened while watching slow-mo replays, talking about why it worked or didn't work, and predicting what may happen next. This rhythm offers opportunities for people watching to question and analyze what's happening and try to guess what's going to come next. And because so many of the games are close and things can change in an instant, most of the games drive you to watch until the end. The way the NFL schedule and TV rights are set up right now is also perfect for mass consumption. Fox and CBS have rights to the Sunday early and late afternoon windows, while NBC gets Sunday Night Football and ABC and ESPN get Monday Night Football. These networks are easy to find, and you know what you're getting week to week. And those Sunday afternoons have a hierarchy to them. If you're a diehard fan of a particular team, usually your hometown team, you can watch them easily whenever they're on. But if you just like the drama of the league, there's pretty much a guarantee that a premier game will be slotted into the late afternoon window and Sunday Night Football, and you can follow those stories for the week. The best stories are served on a platter to a large majority of the nation every week. The NFL puts the most popular teams in the premier time slots most often, which allows them to be seen by most of the nation. That drives ratings, obviously, but it also drives familiarity for the game's biggest stars, which helps drive the weekly storylines even more. Some complain about overexposure for some of these stars, but that's the game the NFL plays, and it works. For other leagues, most of a team's games are not nationally broadcast, so things are happening more in obscurity on a nationwide basis. But pretty much every week, you can watch the best of the best play across the nation in the NFL. And that drives some interesting results, too. Right now, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Lamar Jackson, and Joe Burrow have to be the 5 biggest stars in the league by any measure. They play in Buffalo, New York, Kansas City, Missouri, Baltimore, Maryland, and Cincinnati, Ohio. Not exactly top 5 markets, but the league thrives despite it. That's because of the national TV package that allows the best players and best teams to be seen nationwide, to have their story told to a wider audience. Because of the more localized nature of broadcasting for the other 3 major American leagues, there's not as much of an opportunity for players to become stars no matter where they play. The NBA does a pretty good job at this, but it's also the most star-driven league in the nation. But it's certainly what hinders MLB and the NHL from driving stardom for their best players. So it's settled, right? Thanks to its perfect setup for storytelling, the NFL's stranglehold on the American sports landscape will never go away. Well, nothing's guaranteed. Baseball was once the top sport in the country, and it lost its spot to football. Clearly, there are catalysts that could shift culture and the landscape of professional sports to where the NFL loses its spot on top of the mountain. What are those catalysts? Check out our deep dive into that topic next. Thanks for watching.